smack dab in the middle of the diagram, we see respect and value. That is the core of everything as it relates to your climate and culture. What is it that you respect and value? Now, we may say that we respect and value certain things, but you may act out differently. So when you identify what you respect and value, that's the most important thing. Now, the next part of this is, that you see in the diagram, is a blue line. That blue line is climate. Now, what is climate? Climate is the emotional feeling that you have when you enter a space. Now, I've been in a lot of schools all over the country, and I've been in some schools. You walk in the door, and you can feel it right away. You don't have to meet a person at all. You walk in like, oh, this doesn't feel good at all. Ooh, what's going on around here? Anybody ever walk into a building like that? Oh, my goodness, yes. And then you walk into some other buildings, you walk in, you're like, oh, my goodness, this place is Disney. It feels so good in here. The climate, the feeling, you can see in there, in the diagram, it moves up and down because it fluctuates. That's what climate is, and that's why it fluctuates. Sometimes it's close to what you respect and value, and sometimes it's not. So let's talk about culture. Culture is represented by the two gray lines. And for me, culture is nothing more than a fancy word for traditions. What do you traditionally do? How do you traditionally operate and behave in a building? And that's why it's represented by the two gray lines, because there's two different types of culture. There is operational culture, and then there's your behavioral culture. All right? Now let's talk about the operational culture. Operational culture is how you operate. How do you traditionally operate? How do kids come in the building? How do kids move through the hallways? How do teachers get scheduled? How do students get scheduled? How do we have an assembly? How do we do lunch? Then the top gray line is your behavioral culture. How do people traditionally behave? Better yet, what is tolerated? How do students talk to students? How do teachers talk to students? How do students talk to teachers? How do administrators talk to students? How do administrators talk to teachers? So now we have all of our pieces in this diagram. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to improve the climate in a building. We want the environment to feel better. But I'm letting you know, you can't just sit there and say we're going to improve the climate. What you can do is you can improve the culture. When you take your culture, your operational culture and your behavioral culture, and align it with what you respect and value, those two lines move a little closer. And when those two lines, your behavioral culture and your operational culture, move closer to what you respect and value, what happens to the climate? It levels out.